Risa Umeno es una jugadora estadounidense que tiene 12 años jugando Ultimate. Actualmente juega en el equipo de Chicago llamado Nemesis, que es un Elite Female Team. Y también juega en el equipo Milwaukee Monarchs, con quien se iba a estrenar este año en el Premier Ultimate League. Y aunque el Premier Ultimate League no está funcionando de manera física, está todavía jugando de manera virtual, que les invito a ver los juegos por YouTube y que se diviertan un poco por ese medio. Risa hoy nos va a hablar sobre cómo ser una persona influyente a través de la resiliencia, el positivismo y la colaboración. Les contamos un poquito. Risa va a dar toda su charla y al final tendremos preguntas. La charla va a estar en las diapositivas en español. Y si Risa dice alguna palabra clave, yo estaré traduciéndola por el chat al español. Al final podrán hacer sus preguntas como lo hemos hecho en todas las anteriores charlas y podrá entonces, si la hacen en español, se las traduzco en inglés y Risa responderá. Como siempre, esto será compartido en nuestro YouTube, así que con ustedes, Risa. Risa, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Alexa. Hi, good evening. My name is Risa Umeno. Thank you so much for coming to my presentation. I'm really honored and excited to be able to present on this topic. So thank you again for Jose for asking me to present. My presentation is called How to Be a Person of Influence Through Resilient Positivity and Collaboration. So I wanted to go on to just describe myself, and I think Alexa did a really great job of that already. I have been playing Ultimate Frisbee for the last 12 years, since 2008, and I currently play for Chicago Nemesis, which is an elite women's club team in Chicago. I typically play a defensive cutter position. However, I actually love playing all types of positions, and it's funny because when I first met Jose, when he was in Chicago for vacation, he thought I was a handler because I was playing that position instead. And for Chicago Nemesis, I also am part of the resilience team, which we started last year. And it's just a committee where we talk about mental toughness and resilience and how we can do that and how we can perform at our peak through our mental work. And I also play for the Milwaukee Monarchs, which is the Premier Ultimate League or PUL team. Unfortunately, our season has been postponed and canceled, and so we aren't able to play throughout our season. However, we are hoping that we can play in some exhibition games, maybe in the fall or sometime this year, if we're able to. So again, with COVID and everything going on, it's pretty unpredictable, but we're always hopeful. So I've also been able to have the opportunity to play with Colombia Macondo, which is a mixed team, and I was playing with them at the World Ultimate Club Championships, which is WUCC, back in 2018. And when I'm not playing Ultimate Frisbee, I work as an occupational therapist, and I typically work with kids, and I actually talk to them and teach them about sensory processing, as well as different things with that, such as emotional regulation and cognitive flexibility. And those are actually skills that we as adults can use as well. So it's kind of nice to have this job that I love and I'm passionate about, and then I'm able to also teach these skills to others, myself and my teammates and anyone who wants to learn about it. So these are the important topics I would like to talk about, and I'll go in this order. There's the 6 domains of resilience. This is what I actually teach talk about with my teammates at Nemesis. And then thank you again to Jose. I was able to look at this webinar from Dr. Ivy, who talks about this model of mental toughness. And then I'd like to talk about leadership and influencing, and then the implementation of how we do that. So this is just a graph of the 6 domains of resilience. So again, thank you, Alexa, for translating it. We have vision, and then composure, reasoning, tenacity, collaboration, and health. And It doesn't necessarily have to go in that order. For our last season, we actually changed up the order based on when we started it, which was actually in June instead of preseason. And this season, we're trying to start ahead earlier. So we have been looking at different ways to incorporate it. Again, it's a little bit hard because, right now we can't really have tryouts or practice together. So again, we're just trying to figure it out all together. So the first domain is the vision component. And I really like this graph here, which talks about the goal. And the vision is your purpose. What are we trying to get to? What are we striving for? And we talk about short-term and long-term goals. And could be, team goals, but also personal goals. And you want to make them specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So you could have a goal of saying, I want to be a better cutter. But that is pretty broad. So let's be more specific about it. How do you want to be a better cutter? And that can be, maybe I want to have a faster cutting speed from point A to point B so that my defender can't catch me. So what you would have to do is find that baseline, right? So where am I right now? If I were to do a 50-yard sprint, it might take me, let's say, 8 seconds. And perhaps I want to get down to 6 seconds. So we need to think of, okay, how can I achieve that? And those are different things. We can talk about your nutrition, your health, the way you sleep, the way you recover, being able to do that mobility work and stretching and rolling, and also doing specific exercises. So doing single-legged exercises, working on your glutes, your quadriceps, and implementing different strategies. And then also continuing to practice, just sprinting from 50 yards, from point A to point B, and then also having different body mechanics and doing research about it. Even arm movements, maybe you're not using your arms correctly and making sure you do the 90 degrees. And then making sure that you write them down and keep progress of that, and that you keep yourself accountable. And then we have another domain called composure, and that incorporates emotional stability and regulation, having realistic expectations, being able to take on different perspectives and interpreting things appropriately, and being proactive. So I really like this graph that an inspirational speaker actually talks about. His name is Gizem Kuru, and there's a YouTube video called "Then Why Worry?" So I actually shared this with my teammates, and I made this visual where we start at number 1, and it says, "Do you have a problem in life?" And if we do have a problem, you go down to the yes box, and then you go to the blue box. Okay, can you do something about it? And if the answer is no, then why are we going to worry about it? You can't control it, so we shouldn't expend our energy about how we're worrying. And then if you can do something about it, then there's no point of worrying because you're going to fix it. So this can be about, our life right now in quarantine. What's our problem? Well, we can't play Frisbee. Can you do something about it? And, being more specific, let's say, like, how can I train? My problem is I can't go to the gym. Okay, can I do something about it? Yes, I can. What I can do is basically, modify my exercises. I can still work out and do exercises around the house. You can use water bottles, you can use stairs, you can go outside, you can do agility work, and being able to be more resourceful about the things that we have, and just being able to incorporate that instead of going to the gym. And right now, one of our big problems is, okay, we can't play together, but instead, we can still throw at the field. We can, I have a big goal actually, so I constantly throw in it and work on target practicing, and just trying to be more creative and open-minded. And another thing about realistic expectations, for myself, and I think a lot of athletes, we have these really high expectations, and that's great. I think we all want to achieve the best we can, And so we're going to have these big goals. However, when the situation changes, we need to have more of that realistic expectation. So what I mean by that is, right now, again, like we can't actually play together as a team, right? So we can't build that chemistry right now. So we can't expect ourselves to be able to go out in 5 months and say, oh my goodness, we are a perfect team, because we haven't had that practice time together. But we can change what we do. We can still collaborate. We can still talk on Zoom or anything, and be able to use social media and still talk about plays and do all these different things instead in the meantime. And another example is, let's say, I think we can all run a marathon. Even if you don't want to, let's say you are motivated to run a marathon. But let's say you broke your ankle. Is it realistic to run a marathon in 2 weeks? No. So you have to, again, change your expectations. Even if we know that we can run this marathon, we have to basically adapt to it. What do I need to do right now? Well, I need to recover. I need to rest. I need to do my physical therapy exercises. I need to go to physical therapy, all these different things before you can actually go on to the next step. So again, you're changing things based on the situation. And then again, being able to be okay with things, not sweating the small stuff, and I know right now it can be really hard to not think about the domino effect. Oh, well, we have the quarantine going on. I mean, I'm in Chicago right now, so it's been really emotional and tough. Just with everything that's been going on outside, with looters, and just rioters and protesting and all that. But again, we can't let that just kind of be like, oh no, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. I have no purpose in life, or anything to get all the way to that sad part. Like, what can you do? And how can you contribute? So you can donate, you can do silent protesting, you can, inform your friends and talk about it, all these things. And even in simple terms, let's say that we're not talking about the quarantine, but today's a Monday. A lot of times people don't like Mondays because we have to go back to work. And A, you didn't wake up, your alarm didn't go off. B, you spilled coffee on yourself. C, you have all these emails or whatnot. But again, you don't want 2, 3 things that have happened that are bad to just ruin the rest of your day. So you want to think of how you can turn that around. Okay, A, I still woke up. I'm still doing my best. Like, maybe I just needed a little more sleep. And again, giving yourself a little bit more grace. But B, you can still make more coffee. It's okay. Yes, you spilled your first cup of coffee, but I mean, a lot of us, like myself, I'm working from home. So, it's not as detrimental to me, let's say. Like, I can change out of my clothes, I can make another cup of coffee and start my day from there. So, and then again, for the being proactive, we'll talk about in the next component as well, but just being able to have that cognitive flexibility, being able to be creative, and, again, hoping for the best, but, preparing for certain things. So we have reasoning, and this is where, again, it's a lot about preparation, building it before you need it, problem solving, and then seizing the day, or carpe diem. So building it before you need it, basically this can even be, in the ultimate frisbee situation. It's talking about how can we prepare for different situations. So this can even be about just practice and just techniques and fundamentals. And saying, okay, well, if we want to play a vertical stack, what types of plays, what types of full plays should we play? If the defenders have this type of defense, what should we do in order to get open, and vice versa? If the offense are playing a specific offensive play, how can we prevent that? What kind of defense can we use? So again, being proactive, being creative, being innovative, being okay with change. And again, this is the great thing about collaboration too. which we'll talk about later as well. But just the fact that you want to hear different perspectives, different insights, and just be able to make the best type of program and strategy for your team. So again, embracing the change, embracing, you know, any kind of situation and making it a good thing. I think a lot of times we are afraid of change, and we like things to be in a specific way. But the thing is, sometimes changing it up can make it even better. So again, being open to that. So another component is tenacity. And this is where I've definitely talked about this too, the grit, the fire, the passion, not giving up and having that persistence, and having that really mental strength to say, you know what, I didn't train yesterday, or I didn't eat well, or I didn't sleep well yesterday, but it's okay. Today's a new day and I'm going to try my best today. We're human, we're not perfect. So sometimes we take a few steps back, but it's okay. If we have that motivation, like, we can work on that. That's part of life, and that's part of everyday life, but also as an athlete, just being able to say, it's okay, it's fine, I'm going to do better. Again, it's not it's not the it's okay, and it's fine if I don't do this. It's more of that you want to fuel that and say, okay, this wasn't great, but you don't want to mope about it, right? And making those mistakes more of that learning experience. And this can also be just for like tournaments or games. Why did we lose this team? And how can we learn from it? What did they do better? Or what did we do during this game that we usually don't? Or why did we do this? And responding to it in a very efficient way, or a better way, instead of moping about it, being sad about it. And it's okay to have those feelings too. I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's one of those, you want to have those emotions, you want to feel it, but then you want to let it go so that you can move on, right? And then we go into collaboration, which I've been talking about in the other slides as well. I really like this visual here because this is for any type of team. It can be even for teams like in your career. It doesn't just have to be, athletic teams, but you first start with that forming piece. And this is where you have your tryouts. You have the time to kind of get to know these new players. And then storming is where you are still kind of clashing because you don't really know each other. You don't know what everyone has, their preference. You don't know how they work or what they like to do. Some people might like to cut in this way. Some people might like to huck it. Some people might want to, throw in a round. And so, we don't know people's preferences, so we can't build that chemistry yet. And then we get into that norming. And this is when we decide, okay, we need to collaborate. We need to understand what people like, what people do, and really work on trying to be cohesive. And then that's where you get that norming, because then you're having that goal of, okay, we want to work together so that we can perform. We want to peak. We want to do well so that we can achieve the best that we can, right? So for us, it's going to nationals, being able to peak at nationals, being able to play against those really elite women's teams and being able to beat them. And then the journey is just that reflection afterwards. So how did the season go, and what can we do better? And it's always living and breathing process of it just keeps going, where we are constantly thinking of the next season. And along with the collaboration, I want us to really understand that vulnerability is a good thing. Being emotional, being open, being fearful about things, talking about your discomfort, saying, I don't feel that comfortable about this, or I don't feel great about this skill. And being open and allowing other people to be open, because that builds trust. If someone comes to you with a problem, you want to be open to them, and then they feel safe. You want to bring that kind of atmosphere to the group, and you want to cultivate that. You want to also feel like you can trust them with your secrets and your fears, and that we can collaborate. And again, I think a lot of times it's hard for people to take on constructive feedback, but you know, we don't want to take it personal. I think teammates are always trying to make you better. So you want to take it as, you know what, you might be doing this right now, but what you can do in order to become a better player, you can do this. And so you want to make sure that like you realize that your teammates are only trying to help you. And that's why you want to trust them. And again, making your teammates better, that can be from constructive feedback, but it can also be something where, you know, you give 100% at practice, you give 150, 200%. You, as a cutter, let's say, you're going to cut so hard that your defender, which is your teammate, has to work harder to defend you, and vice versa. If your teammate is on offense, you want to be so hard on defense. You're right on her, that or him, or them, that they have to work so much harder to get open. And that's only going to make your teammates better. And if you make your practices that much harder, then tournaments should be easier because you've gone through that. You've gone through the mental practice and the physical practice, and you're collaborating, and we're all trying to achieve that same goal. And finally, health is a really important aspect that, you know, I think a lot of people recognize, but they have a harder time practicing. And when I talk about health, it's not just about nutrition, it's not just about exercise, but being mindful. And sleep is such an important and crucial part of your health and recovery. That, you know, like when I was younger, I was, you know, in college, you don't need to sleep that much, you didn't have to stretch, you didn't have to do all these things. But as I get older, I realized, wow, sleep is really important. You know, being mindful, being self-reflective, understanding like, what am I good at and what are some things I can work on, and be really truthful about it. And again, I really like the breathing aspect. So I have this visual here, which is really aesthetically pleasing for me. So I just want to practice it where it says breathe in, you're going to breathe in. And then breathe out. And so when you do that several times, just seeing this visual, it's very pleasing and calming, and it allows you to decrease your heart rate. And that's really good. So breathing allows you to increase your oxygen supply to your brain and body. And it allows you to activate the parasympathetic system, so your rest and digest system. And again, that's going to decrease your heart rate and allow you to be a little bit calmer. And that's good for composure and reasoning, which are things that we just talked about as well. Just because if you are very, you know, anxious and you're hyped up and your heart rate is really high, then it's really hard to think straight or rationally. So again, just being able to recognize, okay, I need to breathe and take a second just to settle myself and realize, okay, I can do this. And again, self-care, you know, I talked about stretching earlier, but it's been a really crucial part of just my exercise, just because I feel that I need to prepare my body, I need to warm it up, instead of just going into a hard, intense workout with cold muscles. So recovery is so important, and just taking at least a day to recover and roll and stretch and do some mobility work. So this is from Dr. Ivy's webinar. Thank you again for Jose for showing this to me. And I loved it so much. I'm such a visual learner and I love graphs. So you can see at the point, that's where performance is written. That's where we're ultimately trying to get. But that means we need to get the foundation done first, the fundamentals, right? So in all the way at the bottom, you see the belief. So before you get even motivated, before you get prepared and focused and have emotional stability, you want to have the belief in yourself. I can do this. You know, I can be a great athlete. You want to have that belief for your teammates and from your teammates, belief from your coach. You want them to believe in you too. And that's going to fire your motivation. And at the bottom, we have motivation, which has the intrinsic, the internal, the approach, and positive. And it talks more about the intrinsic motivation, but there are also extrinsic motivation as well. But as Dr. Ivy says, it's just harder to control when it's extrinsic. So intrinsic is talking to yourself about, oh, I'm doing a good job, versus someone else saying, you did a great job. Because you can't control what people say to you, right? Versus you can control the positive self-talk that you tell yourself. The internal is, I want to do this instead of someone else wants me to do it. The approach is that I want to be the best versus I don't want someone to yell at me. I don't want to get in trouble. Um, and again, positive self-talk is so important because we tend to, a lot of us, or a lot of people in general, tend to have a hard time motivating themselves. They say, oh, I'm too tired, or, I'm not good enough, or I don't know if I can do this. So changing that. And again, it's a lot of mental work in order for you to be able to say, okay, I can do this. I want to do it. What can I do? And make small little habits, change your, make your goals short term, making them smaller bits by bits, and, being able to have digestible pieces instead of, taking a big bite out of something. And then it goes into the preparation piece. So again, the physical part I think is pretty straightforward. The training part is really important for preparing as we get to the performance. Technical, that is more of understanding the fundamentals and the techniques, taking note of things that you are doing or what you should do, what your teammates do, what your team wants to do. And then tactical is also of the role play, the game plan. And then mental is that visualization and the mindfulness and watching videos and films, and again, preparing yourself. So again, mental is such a big part that a lot of people don't realize, because when you're young, I think we tend to say, oh, work very fast. Oh, I can do all these different things. So as you get older, or in general, it's so important to have those mental toughness and resilience built in, and just constantly practice that. And again, visualization is so important too. A lot of Olympic athletes do this, where before they do anything, they're thinking in their minds of them winning the Olympics or doing things, even a dive, like a diver, doing the appropriate dive over and over and over, and just remembering that and telling themselves that they can do it. And then what's interesting is Dr. Ivy actually talks about how these other tiers, like focus, emotional stability, accountability, and performance, those actually come in the third, fourth, fifth year of, let's say, high school or college performance. So a lot of times this is not just all in one season. I'm not saying it's not doable, but I think it's important to see that we can't just rush through things. We need to take time in order to actually get all the fundamentals, the foundations down, and you understand them and you can practice them. So I won't talk too much about the tab, only because I'll talk more about the influence piece. But for focusing, time orientation is just being able to focus on the present, being in the now. Instead of thinking of the present or the past, because the past can get you down, saying, "Oh my gosh, I used to do this. I messed up here," and that can cause you to perform worse. But then if you think too much into the future, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. What if I do this? What if I make a mistake? And that can also impede your ability to perform at your potential. So being in the present. And I know I talk about positive self-talk a lot, but just being able to have that intention, not only for yourself, but others. And I think a lot of times we do have an easier time being positive towards others. So being able to practice that on yourself, because we need that self-love too. And it talks about the composure, which we kind of discussed already. We already discussed in the 6 domains of resilience. Concentration, again, being able to just focus on the present, and then the confidence. And that comes with being prepared, being able to do the fundamentals and practicing over and over and over. And then the emotional stability. Again, these are all things where we talk about the vulnerability and being able to be open, and then also being trusting of your teammates and feeling like you can trust them. allowing them to feel like they can be trusted, or allowing them to feel like you trust them and all that, and just building on that. So, how do you be influential? So it's interesting because when Jose first came to me and he asked me if I could do a presentation, and I said, "Oh, sure. What would you like me to talk about?" And he said, "Oh, about your influence on your community." And it was interesting because I didn't think, "Huh, okay, how am I influential?" And I didn't realize that I actually do influence a lot of people. And for me, I'm thinking, well, I'm just being myself. But it made me think, okay, what does being myself mean? And I think it has to do with being able to take others' perspectives, being open minded, and just being open to what others have to say, being empathetic, being able to listen, again, being vulnerable, and just being kind in general. So I love this picture right here over on the left with that number. So based on wherever you're standing, wherever you're looking from it, it can be a 6 or it can be a 9. So they both are correct, and they're just looking at it from a different point of view. And the point of this picture is that I think people have different perspectives, but many problems typically have more than one solution. And again, this is where I kind of want to bring up my like how I work with my kiddos, and how they learn to problem solve, and how to be more cognitively flexible by understanding that there can be more than one solution. And I want to talk about just a simple math problem. So if I were to ask you what two numbers would equal or total 5, one person might say, well, 1 plus 4 equals 5. Another person might say 2 plus 3 equals 5. And then another person might say, well, 0 plus 5 equals 5. And they're all correct. It's a matter of perspective and what people bring to the table. So it's important to know that, only two specific numbers don't just equal 5, right? So it's not the end all be all to just have one answer. And you can learn such valuable lessons from someone else and a lot of other people. So again, I think people rely on me to be influential because they feel that they can be vulnerable with me, they can trust me, and they know that I'll get things done. So, if they want to present something, but they don't feel like they have the confidence to, they, look to me and they say, Risa, will you do this? And I say, sure, of course, and I think there's power in that. I kind of is that kindness. I would do anything for my teammates or any of the people in my life, and having that ability is powerful. So, how do you implement this with your team and community? And I think, again, you don't have to be the loudest or the boldest or the most leader-esque. But at the same time, I mean, I tend to be the loudest. I tend to be pretty bold. But, I think it's about my passion. I love that, I love the mental toughness and resilience portion. I love the human side. I like reading up on it. I like to research about it. I like to share that with people. So I think when you have a passion for something, people can tell and they can feed on that energy. So that's something that you can influence your teammates or people around you through just things that you love to talk about or you want to share. And then again, allowing them to understand or, learn more about something that they might not have known about. And sometimes that means also going out of your comfort zone. So sometimes it means doing something that you're not as comfortable with, but putting things out there. So, I don't typically do that many presentations, but, I think this is a great opportunity to, share my experiences and talk about the things I'm passionate about. And hopefully you guys get something out of it. And I just love that, you are here to learn about it and you want to, and that I get to talk to different people from around the country. So I think that's an amazing opportunity, which I guess goes to my next point about, opening doors and providing that opportunity. or providing those opportunities, and then also getting opportunities as well. So, I think it kind of goes back to kindness and being open. I think I love the ultimate frisbee community because everyone tends to be very open, and we all share this passion and love for the game and the spirit of the game. So you're willing to make friends with people. I met Jose and Ana Maria at Goldsmith, which I heard that they don't have in Panama, but they happened to come because it was a beautiful day in February in Chicago, which is, again, Chicago is always up and down, so you never know what weather you get. But I didn't recognize them, so I said, "Hi, I'm Risa. What's your name?" And then I learned that they were from Panama, and so I invited them to come play ultimate frisbee indoors a different day. And then they came to that, and we just kept in touch. So again, I think it's just a great opportunity and experience to learn and meet new people from all over the place. So another thing that's important is just that collaboration with your teammates and knowing your teammates and providing that constructive feedback. Um, for us on Nemesis, we do have these smaller groups and different committees, whether it is the resilience team, we have a logistics group, we have a social group. And having these different groups allows you to feel a little bit more comfortable talking instead of talking to maybe 30 different people, so that you feel like your voice is being heard. But being able to also have the opportunity to brainstorm things, and understanding each other. So this is a picture of us dancing. Nemesis loves to dance. I love to dance, so I love to lead these different dances based on actually this guy named Fitness Marshall who choreographs different dances on YouTube. And so we'll do these things, and this can be such a pump up, something exciting, some kind of warm up, and kind of brings us together, especially when we're feeling down or during halftime, and just something real quick that we do together. And I think a lot of my teammates enjoy that. And even if people don't participate, I think they still, the others like to watch, or they will take care of themselves. But they're still enjoying that other people are able to get pumped up through this. And again, our team loves to be weird. So knowing your teammates and what can we do in order to perform our best. For us, it's to be weird. It's to have fun. It doesn't mean that we aren't competitive. We are very competitive. And sometimes when we are, upset and frustrated, it can get to our heads. But instead of being frustrated and then performing poorly because of that, we're trying to engage in something fun, loosen our bodies and just enjoy time together, because that's ultimately what we're doing. We love this sport, we love our team, and we want, ultimate frisbee is fun. So we want to have that experience and be able to have fun and then also get into that focus mode. And that's why, even that constructive feedback is good, because it shows that we care enough to have fun, but we also care to better each other. I do also want to say that one of the things on how to be influential is surrounding yourself with people who are influential. I was actually just talking to someone today, and I really respected all the things and the knowledge she has, especially because, with the situation right now, understanding more about Black Lives Matter and, racism, anti-racism, and all these things, and why people are doing this, and just getting a better knowledge base, and talking about my perspective, but then also hearing other people's perspective, especially if they've taken courses on all these things and they know a lot about a topic. And finally, this is a quote by Kobe Bryant. He has so many inspirational quotes, and I really like this one. The most important thing is to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. So I think with that being said, it's, you want to be able to inspire people, and, you want to build them up, and you want to be there for them, because that only makes them a better player, but I think that also helps you strive to be better, you know, either by leading by example. You know, I think I like to lay out. That's one of my things. I love to do that. I love to be happy and dancing and all that. And this past Saturday, actually, two of my teammates, JJ Jarrett and Georgia Bosher, were commentating about a Nemesis versus Heist game back in 2016. And it was just so nice to hear. They said Risa had such a great game, and JJ would say, whenever I need a pump up, or like, you know, I need motivation, I look at Risa and I know she's going to do something cool in the next 30 seconds. So knowing that also just makes me feel great, and that I have that influence on people, even if you don't have the loudest voice, or even if you aren't, you know, well spoken, or you're talking in the huddle or anything like that. So I hope that you guys can take away something where, you know, from this presentation about how to influence being yourself, and just being able to build on that resilience. So thank you.
Muchas gracias, Risa. Thank you very much, Risa. Dejamos abierta la sesión de preguntas y respuestas. We're opening the Q&A session. So we are waiting for your questions. Esperamos sus preguntitas. Pueden dejarlas en español y yo las traduzco a inglés. Y cualquier cosa también les traduzco lo que diga. Se escucha abajo, sorry. Okay. Ana Maria asked, I've noticed no matter how competitive is the game, you're always smiling and having fun. Which tip can you give us to keep the happiness even in competitive games or if we are losing?
So that's a great question. I think for me, I like to realize that things are fun. So like when I'm on the line, and I know that I'm still a little bit angry, I say to people, because I think for others to hear, hey, we play this for fun. Let's have fun. I actually say, let's have some fun in like a sing-songy way, and then someone will say, this beat is sick, from Lady Gaga, and just kind of getting that buy-in to remind people that we do this for fun. But I think at the same time, everyone is different. So, it's okay if you don't smile. It's okay if you're just being serious about things. And just being able to focus in, and talk to yourself, hey, I can do this. I'm going to make a great cut. I'm going to, run to the disc. I'm going to catch the disc. I'm going to throw a great pass to my teammate. I'm going to run hard out. So it all comes down to visualization and a lot of positive self-talk.
Okay. ¿Alguna otra pregunta por ahora? How is your team keeping connected and motivated during COVID crisis?
So I'm really lucky to be on a team where we do continue to have Zoom sessions where every Saturday we'll do a workout together. So we'll do Zoom, and we get to see each other, and someone will make up an exercise routine. And a lot of times we use Slack a lot to communicate about different things. And it doesn't even have to be about teams, but in this situation right now, we talk about like, how can we donate? Well, how can we contribute? What can we do right now in this situation that's happening in Chicago? We also talk about, so for me, I do part of the resilience committee. And so I will reach out to my other teammates who are part of the committee and say, hey, what can we do in order to pump our team up? What do they need right now? And trying to relate that back to, what is our situation right now? And, right now things aren't great, but what can we do? And we even have like a film watching club every other Wednesday where someone will analyze film from a past game. And then anyone can participate, and we talk about it. Like, oh, this team did this. This is why they got open, or this is why they played so well against this team, and they were able to, get these goals. One of the great games that I was just watching, or we watched, was that Fury versus Riot game. back in, I think, 2008, and how Fury came back from a really big deficit in score. So, just seeing that and reflecting on the mental toughness behind it. So there's a lot of different ways that we connect. And I think, it comes down to people being motivated and wanting to talk to each other. And, we miss each other because by now we should be trying out, we should be practicing. And that's our norm. So trying to keep things as, I guess, normal as possible.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Can you tell us a little bit about your practices with your pool team, Monarchs?
Oh, my PUL team.
Yeah.
So we've only had a couple practices, and then of course, unfortunately, the quarantine happened. But it's been such a great experience to see so many women try out. So even just from the tryout process, and seeing all these talented women and giving their best, and wanting to represent female athletes on this bigger platform. And then since then, we still continue to talk. We also have a Slack group, and we try to do workouts together. We'll have Zoom happy hours and different trivia nights. And then we also have participated in that virtual PUL game. So it was myself, Emily Willingham, and Katie Stanton. And we just played against Indy Red. And it was fun just because, we're still trying to have some type of game, and we're trying to get to know other PUL teams in a fun way, since we can't really interact with them right now.
How does your team reacts when the leaders of the team have a bad how you say have a bad game, or en un encuentro desde lo emocional mental tiene un mal they have a bad situation related to their emotional or mental self?
So how do my other teammates who are not
Exactly, who are not the leaders reacts when some of the leader has this kind of reactions?
I think it really depends on which leader and who they feel comfortable talking to. And I think, each, there are specific teammates who can go up to the leadership and say, hey, that's okay. Or we all have different preferences in how to be pumped up or comforted. So we actually typically in the beginning of the season will have a forum, a Google forum that talks about like, how do we get pumped up? When we're frustrated, what do we need? What do we need our teammates to say to us or do to help us get out of a funk? And we actually make different buddy groups, which is great because, you break into small groups and then you can reflect on different things, whether it's after a game or before a game, and talk about things instead of having to talk in a big group. Or as a big group, we like to do actually the visualization exercises where we're closing our eyes, we're breathing, slowly in and out, and then just being able to, just get back to like equilibrium, right? Just being able to say, okay, that happened, that, we didn't want that to happen, but what can we do now? Let's think of all the little things we can do right this moment, and kind of go from there.
Okay, we have another question. What's your opinion about obsession and its relation with getting better at something? Is it healthy or relevant in any matter? Is there a point of diminishing returns?
That's a really good question. And, I don't want to say it's bad per se. I don't know if you guys have watched like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. It's a phenomenal documentary and I loved it. And, I think he works very hard and I admire that. I respect that so much. But I think it also depends on your mental and emotional well-being. Because like for myself, I think I was pushing myself too hard, especially during the quarantine. Like I have to do this, I have to be better, and just push. But the fact is, within the situation, I can't control a lot of things. So, it's a lot of, and I said this before too, like giving yourself the grace, like being okay. It's okay. We're not perfect. You know, we can't control some things, and that's okay. So as long as I think it's a fine balance, you know, like I'm very competitive. I'm sure a lot of you guys are competitive, and you know, building off of everyone else's competitiveness too. Like we actually for Nemesis we do an activity bingo. So you know, we have this bingo card and all these exercises, and you know, you can get rewards based on whoever gets the first bingo. Um, you know, and having that kind of um, competition and just passion, I think is healthy. Being able to push yourself after watching, you know, some YouTube like ultimate highlights and all that, I think that's healthy. But I guess it's more of like knowing yourself. How much can you push yourself, and how much is it okay? You know. So I don't know. I guess you know, obsession kind of has a negative connotation to it. But I would think, you know, if it's passion and it's something where you're striving to be better, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know, I think we're all trying to get better. You know, I I played for a different club team, and I was afraid to actually try out for Nemesis because I felt like I was, you know, leaving a team. But I also wanted to know, can I make this team? Can I be better? Can I go to nationals? And then after that, you know, I wanted to see what else can I do. Can I be a professional? Can I try out for this professional team? Can I make it and like perform well? So, you know, I think for me that's healthy, and that like that's you trying to get to your potential.
Another question, more or less, how many girls did the tryouts and how many days were the tryouts?
So I actually tried out for two different teams. I tried out for the Milwaukee Monarchs and then also Columbus Pride, which is in Ohio. And I know Pride had two different tryouts. I actually went to only one, and I had the honor of like getting a roster position, but I really wanted to be on Milwaukee Monarchs, and they had a tryout afterwards actually, and they had um, three tryouts, and where Columbus Pride had maybe like 60 to 80 people, Monarchs had over 100 people. Um, so I think it also is because Chicago has a lot of great players. So there's a lot of Chicago players coming into Milwaukee and Wisconsin, and then there's a lot of great Wisconsin players, Milwaukee players. So you know we have a bigger pool of people there. Um, so there were two different tryouts, and then there was like a third tryout where they were trying to narrow down who would be rostered and all that. So, but I know as well, I've heard that like, you know, New York Gridlock has a longer tryout process. I, excuse me, don't remember how many, but it was a lot more extensive from my knowledge.
Do you have any advice for dealing with difficult groups while being in a leadership position? With difficult, I mean people who doesn't trust you as a leader or doesn't know you yet.
You know, I guess it depends on how they want to be approached, you know. And I think the hard part is sometimes you might not know if someone doesn't trust you, right? So I think it's important to recognize or try to be open to people. And I think that's one of my strengths. I think I'm usually very positive and very welcoming. So I feel like people tend to um, trust me a lot. So like even if I'm not the captain, they tend to come to me and they might say something like, "Oh, can you tell the captain this?" You know. So and then for me in that position, you know I'm more than happy to kind of help out there, but also letting them know like it's okay. The captains are more than happy to help you too. Like you don't have to be afraid of them, and giving them that reassurance. But in a leadership position, I would say, you know, again, if you recognize that someone is not maybe providing as much feedback, or they seem to be quiet, or you know, I kind of look at just body language in general. You know, are they looking away from me? Are they hunched over? Are they crossing their arms? And you know, maybe taking them aside and saying, "Hey, like, you know, is everything okay?" Or, you know, "Is there anything I can help you with? What's the best way I can support you right now?" And just kind of asking them questions to make it more personal and allow, you know, let them feel like they're important and they're a valuable teammate to the group.
Okay, perfect. We close our Q&A section. Hemos cerrado la sección de preguntas y respuestas. Thank you very much, Risa, for giving us your time. And I think Jose is going to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you, Risa, for everything. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. You share a lot of good advice, and I hope to see you soon when everything gets better. Muchísimas gracias a todos los que participaron de esta última charla. Quisiera darle un agradecimiento especial a esas personas que hicieron esto posible, en especial a Ana María Celi, que sin ella nada esto hubiera podido haberse logrado, a Alexandra Lazo por su ayuda, a Claudio Matina, a cada uno de los ponentes, realmente que hicieron su trabajo y nos brindaron un espacio de aprendizaje realmente, porque esta yo creo que es la mejor forma de poder pasar estos tiempos de dificultad y unirnos, escuchando el Ultimate, que es lo que nos une, realmente hace pasar el tiempo mucho mejor. Entonces, ya saben, todas estas conferencias quedan grabadas en YouTube y esperamos que podamos seguir viéndonos lo más pronto posible en las canchas. Así que muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Risa, for everything. Bye. Have a very
Thank
good
you so
night.
much. Bye.